So I literally felt just completely disconnected. Like, there has got to be a better way, a different way, where I can actually live life and not just feel like I'm existing in it.
My name is Jenny, and I'm a wife and mom raising 2 kids. But I used to live a more glamorous life as a TV reporter. I was on the nightly news interviewing pop stars and politicians. So when I said goodbye to TV and hello to motherhood, I suddenly discovered what we moms are up against. We live in a world that tells us to be rich and famous, thin and successful. You know, almost nobody says, "Oh, hey, you're a mom? That is fabulous." But you are fabulous, and I'm here to tell you why.
It's the ChannelMom Show with Jenny Dean Schmidt. We're here for you.
If you're a busy mom, get someone else to send your personalized cards for much less than a store-bought card and stamp. It's that easy. Just click on Send Out Cards.
How would you like to get rid of your fear so you can really start living your life the way that you've wanted to? Your whole life. Because I think a lot of people just put it off. They think they're afraid of a million things, so they don't step out, and they never live the way they really know they should live. This next woman's motto is ignite your fearless factor to succeed at work, life, and business. And she knows what she's talking about. She's helped a lot of people. She's one of the most compelling voices in motivational speaking today, Cheryl Wood. She's armed with a mission to empower, and she loves to impact people's lives through her life-changing principles of fearless living. She's an award-winning speaker, corporate consultant, author, and business strategist who specializes in equipping audiences to stretch their thinking, expand their expectations, and play a bigger game. I love that. Her message equally empowers leaders, executives, career professionals, entrepreneurs, and mothers to persist and persevere until they reach their goals, even in the face of challenges. Okay. This is my challenge to you before we welcome Cheryl. I want you to think about your biggest fear that you think is stopping you in your life. What your biggest fear is that's stopping you from living your dream, you know, the thing that you know you've always wanted to do. And maybe some people don't even know what they want to do, but this woman can help them. So we want to welcome right now to the show, Cheryl Wood. Welcome, my dear.
Hi, thank you. Hey, I have to agree with you ladies that we should be, you know, getting paid way more than $100,000 for all our responsibilities.
Exactly. Exactly.
We bumped that up to about at least $300,000.
Exactly. Well, and here's the thing. One reason that our job is doubly hard is because a lot of women are also working outside of the home.
That's right.
And so they're coming home dead tired and still having to be on their game for their family.
Absolutely. I did it. I was working a full-time corporate job. And in the midst of that, with my 3 babies, I have they're now 5, 6, and 8. But when I started, you know, they were that was almost 4 years ago, so they were really babies.
Yeah.
And you know, I was doing that and decided to then take the leap and start a business. So I was just moving and shaking and up most mornings until about 3 in the morning, and then waking back up at 6 to go to work.
Yeah, and I'm going to have you talk about it. That was my first question out of the box, is I want moms to understand who you are, and I think they're going to identify with your story. So Cheryl, I want you to tell your story here in just a second. But first, I want to say to all the moms who are out there who do feel this way. I mean, I was in the bathroom yesterday looking around at all the stuff that needed to be picked up, and I thought, how do moms who work full-time jobs, so basically out of the house 50 to 60 hours a week, do this? Because yes, I work because I work on the show, but I do it out of my house. I was a stay-at-home mom for years, so I was able to get things wired at my house and get my kids, you know, settled and ready and get routines established. I don't know how moms who are out of the house 50 hours a week do it. I just don't. But I want you to tell me about your story and tell the moms out there about your story, because you describe yourself in your bio as a frustrated mother of 3 who was just existing. That was your former self, a frustrated mother of 3 who was just existing. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, just like you said, it was the crazy, chaotic routine. It was just a routine. And we've all heard the word autopilot before. That was me. It was just autopilot. I mean, I felt like a zombie, you know, or a robot. You could just kind of wind me up, punch in what I needed to do for the day, and I just went off and did it. But there was no real, I didn't feel there was any real connection to life. Yeah. There was no real connection to being truly involved in what my kids were doing, meaning I would be there physically, but not mentally, because I was exhausted. So my routine on a daily basis, and this I'm going back maybe about 4 years ago, was, you know, getting up at about 4:30 or 5 in the morning to get my day started, to get the 3 kids ready, you know, with my husband. And we were dropping the kids off by 6 in the morning at before care. And then I'd rush off to get to the job by 8:30, work there all day, and get off at about 5:30. And now I'm rushing to get back to them to pick them up at aftercare. So their school was letting out at about 3, and they were in aftercare till about 6. We weren't even walking in the door in the evenings until about 7 at night. And so then you imagine you feel like your day really is starting because now it's mommy routine. It's homework time, bath time, dinner time. By the time you get all that stuff done and you get to sit down, you're just like, you're exhausted. So I literally felt just completely disconnected. Like there has got to be a better way, a different way, where I can actually live life and not just feel like I'm existing in it.
Yeah.
And so for me, that in the back of my mind, the option to get out of that crazy, chaotic routine was, okay, well, find what's your passion and turn that into a business that can allow you to feel fulfilled and nurtured inside, can allow you to make an impact on other women and moms, and most importantly, to leave a legacy for my kids that you don't have to exist in a routine. You can actually do what you want and create a life for yourself. So those were my goals, and that kind of started my journey.
Yeah, and Cheryl, let's just get real for a minute. And I don't want any mom to feel judged today, but I just want to be honest because I feel, you tell me, and you can correct me and you can disagree with me, girl, because I really want some honesty here. I feel like we've gotten into this thing in America where back in the 60s, there was liberation, and then there was this sort of drive to make more and to have this 2-income earning family and for everybody to have 2 cars. Remember, we used to have 1-car garages, and then we suddenly expanded 2- and 3-car garages. I just want to put this out there. I feel like so many moms are tied to the dollar and not to their passion. And I think you were trying to say, I had to reconnect and say, am I just doing this for the dollar? And is there something I could be doing that is about my passion that could also bring in some money, but it's going to redirect my heart and my mind to something that I was born to do that will send a message to my kids. You don't have to just schlep out there to make $100,000 a year to live a miserable life because you're always busy. And I see so many moms saying, well, I have to keep our mortgage payment. I have to, or we can't afford our second car. And I get that, but I feel like we're almost on that rat wheel, running around, and we're not seeing any other way. And it breaks my heart because I think, no. Do not serve the almighty dollar. Serve what God has made you to do. That's fine. But in that way, you can embrace the fact that you've also been made to be a mother. And if you're out 60 hours a week, you can't, bless your children. And you're saying, you know what? I figured out a way to do my passion, but also come back home and be with my kids more. Is that correct or incorrect?
I think there's 2 sides of that.
Okay.
I think a part of it is that we're in a society now where we're taught that the belief that we have to give our kids everything.
Okay.
So not that we have to give them our time and who we are and the morals and the values that they can gain from being around us, but that we have to have them in soccer, we have to have them in ballet, we have to have them in jiu-jitsu and all this other stuff, and that stuff costs money.
Yeah.
So you may not particularly be in a position where you're like, oh, I'm trying to keep, these 2, $100,000 cars and this great house. You may be living pretty simple in terms of that material things, but there is a certain pressure where you want to give your kids the very best. And society says the very best is you got to have them in extracurricular activities, you got to have them in sports, you got to have them in this and that and this club. And
how do you feel about that?
Costs money.
How do you feel about that? Do you think we've overdone that?
I do. I think we've overdone it. I mean, I turned out all right.
Yeah.
And I wasn't in every sport known to man. My mom couldn't afford that.
Yeah.
And I turned out okay. I mean, I do think sports and things like that are important for kids, but I think, sometimes it's about, okay, families getting together and going out to the local baseball field and playing around together. It's not necessarily something where you have to be on a team sport where you're paying, $200 a week for your kid to be there, but that's the society that we're in.
Well,
and so because of that, parents, I find moms especially trying to keep up with that. Like, I got to have my kids in this stuff.
Yeah, or I got to have my kids have 3 screens. They got to have their iTouch, they got to have their iPhone, they got to have their iPad, and they got to be able to play PS2 or PS whatever they're on now, PS4.
And for some reason, we feel like we're doing them a disservice if they don't have all of that stuff. Like, oh, I'm not positioning my child to succeed if they don't have the latest gadgets, if they don't know all the latest technology. We feel like we're setting them up for failure when we don't hand them those things. Yeah. And I beg to differ and say your time is so much more valuable than any video game or electronic gadget that you can buy at the store.
Yeah. I mean, who is going to teach them how to go help the neighbor down the street? Or who's going to teach them how to say no to, something that's they're being tempted by, drugs, alcohol, what? Who's going to teach them if you're not giving them time to say, this is the example I'm trying to set for you face to face. Let's talk and let me give you the example. If they never see you, they're not going to get an example from you. So
That's right.
I know there are moms out there today. I know it. I'm confident of it, who are fearful and who are afraid or who think, I'm never just going to get beyond this. I'm always going to live like this, and I wish I could live more. I know that God's given me a purpose, and I'm not living it out. I'm too afraid. I'm too constricted. I've got too many. I'm too busy. Whatever it is, please call and share your fear with Cheryl or your hurdle that you just can't get over. This woman is a motivational speaker and somebody who helps people change their lives for a living. So she can help you for free today, 303-297-1510. So in the next 2.5 minutes that you have before we have to go to break, Cheryl, what was it that changed for you that you decided that you could pursue your passion?
You know what? It was about realizing that in my life, I have to be intentional about what I want, and that time is going to move forward, whether I decide to move forward with it or just kind of stand still in it. So it was about making that, having that realization, and then saying, okay, so you know this, now what are you going to do about it? And I think oftentimes we come to that realization as women and as moms, but then we don't execute. We don't take the action. We just stay in our comfort zone. So for me, I could have stayed in the comfort zone of being comfortable with my every 2-week paycheck that allowed my kids to be in sports and paid the bills and all that. Or I could take the risk, jump out there with both feet and say, you know what, I'm going to try something different. And maybe actually I could get some different results.
Yeah.
And so it was about stepping into my fear of failure. Maybe I'll do this thing and it'll be a huge waste of time and it won't go anywhere. So that was in the back of my mind. A fear of inadequacy. Well, how am I going to become, this motivational speaker and this coach when I don't have this training and this degree and a PhD and that, so we kind of talk ourselves out of the dream before we ever actually jump in with both feet and at least give it a shot. So my encouragement to your listeners today is, give it a try. Take a risk. Be fearless. Go for it. What's the worst that can happen? If it doesn't involve death, then hey, go for it.
Yeah. 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 I mean, you'll find a way to get back if you aren't handling it financially or whatever. But I really believe if you're stepping to into your purpose, it's going to be a blessed thing. I really do think 9 times out of 10, if you're really willing to put in the work, it's going to work. I mean, don't you think? I really think that.
Yeah, but I think people have to be willing to put in the work, and that's the scary part. That's the thing that scares people. I'm going to put all this time and energy and effort and money and blah, blah, blah into this thing, and suppose it fails. Well, you could walk across the street and suppose you get hit. Anything can happen in life is my point.
Yeah.
And so why not take a chance to be your best? Why not take a chance to reach your greatest potential and do what you really know you are destined to do by taking that chance and saying, okay, if it doesn't work, then I can always go back and get a job.
Yeah.
It's about looking at it differently, having a different mindset.
We only go around once, people, and she's telling you, go ahead and live the life you were meant to live. And I don't mean in a, go get the Cadillac and that. I mean, live the purpose you were called to live and help other people by doing it. We're going to come back with Cheryl Wood of Cheryl Wood Empower. She's going to give you information about how to get a hold of her. I think Shelly's got a question for her. I urge you to call 303-297-1510 with any help that you need to just get over that hurdle to live your vision, your dream.